Welcome to the Online Digital Marketing Podcast. We'll be discussing marketing strategies, trends, and tips that will help your business succeed in the digital age. Every episode, we'll be interviewing industry professionals and providing valuable insights on how to leverage digital tools for maximum engagement and ROI. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest trends in online marketing.
Okay, so if your brand's social media still looks like some kind of hyper-polished corporate brochure, well, you might already be losing. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're essentially tearing up that old, obsolete social media playbook. We want to give you the essential, modern strategy you need right now. Our mission today is pretty simple, really. We're giving you a shortcut to understanding this huge philosophical shift that's happening. You know, the rigid posting schedules, the obsession with studio-perfect visuals, chasing those purely viral vanity metrics. That whole era is, well, it's over. The fundamental change is moving away from just broadcasting marketing messages at people.
Yeah, one-way traffic.
Exactly, and moving towards authenticity, genuine relationship building.
That's the core of it.
The new goal, based on all the research we've unpacked for you, is to really transform social media. It's not just a distribution channel anymore.
Right.
It's becoming more of a sophisticated relationship engine where honesty, shared values.
Right.
That's the real currency for loyalty now.
That's absolutely crucial. And you're right, this isn't some fleeting trend we're seeing. This is a foundational redefinition of how brands actually connect with people, with human beings. The whole market is shifting. And this new philosophy really emphasizes that authenticity. It's the absolute backbone of modern brand connection. The payoff isn't just a quick spike in clicks.
It's stability.
It's stability. It's retention, things that actually matter long term. Now, we know you're probably grappling with just the sheer volume of information about all this, so we've structured this deep dive to give you some clarity. We're going to walk through the 3 key philosophical changes. And maybe most importantly, we'll give you the new success metrics, the things you should actually be tracking internally now.
Because the old vanity numbers.
They just don't matter anymore. They really don't.
Okay, let's unpack those philosophies then, starting with how the content itself is changing. Pillar number 1 is all about prioritizing authenticity over polish. So if you're feeling that pressure, to make everything look hyper-produced, you can probably relax a bit. The old rules demanding that perfect studio quality, they're officially out. Success now seems to be driven by embracing real, unscripted moments.
Real life stuff.
Yeah. And one of the most fascinating points in the source material was how they framed vulnerability. We tend to think of vulnerability as purely a risk, right?
Yeah.
But the research suggests that calculated vulnerability, it actually builds deep trust. Brands are finding success now by sharing real wins, sure, but also real losses. Honest stories about, say, their manufacturing process, or even just owning up to mistakes quickly and genuinely.
Exactly. When a brand admits a flaw or shows the messy reality behind the polished image, they instantly become more relatable, human.
Right.
We saw in the case studies that content is now allowed, sometimes even encouraged, to be what we might have previously called off-brand.
Off-brand, yeah.
And this is the key part, if it remains fundamentally true to the company's core purpose or its culture, it humanizes the logo, doesn't it?
It really does. Which leads us straight into the second pillar, embracing internet culture. Because authenticity isn't just about being earnest and serious all the time. It also means being an active participant in the digital conversation, not just shouting into it.
You have to be part of it.
You do. And that means using the elements native to the platform. Humor, nostalgia, maybe some self-deprecation, even memes to make the content feel instantly relevant.
Yeah.
Timely.
And we can connect these 2 pillars with some really good examples from the research. Look at American Girl. They're deepening trust, not just by, selling dolls. They're openly engaging in some pretty difficult cultural conversations that are relevant to their audience.
Which takes courage.
It does. And they showcase the process, the diverse people behind their product creation, that kind of long-form, sincere interaction. It fosters an emotional connection that builds lasting brand value way beyond just the initial sale.
That makes sense.
And then there's CAVA, the fast casual chain. They lean heavily into playful, almost self-deprecating humor.
I've seen some of that.
They actively seek out and embrace user-generated content. They even went so far as to adopt the nickname customers gave one of their popular bowls slop.
Wait, slop? Really?
Yes, slop. Instead of fighting what sounds like an unflattering nickname, they just embraced the inside joke.
Wow. Okay, that CAVA example.
Yeah.
Being willing to share an inside joke and be okay with being called slop, that's a huge psychological leap for a corporate marketing team, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But it raises a major point of friction, one that you, our listener, are probably facing internally. How do you convince, say, legal or PR, that this kind of calculated vulnerability won't just blow up in your face?
That's probably the single biggest hurdle, and the research actually dedicates significant attention to it.
Good.
The key finding seems to be that while, yes, traditional compliance departments fear that immediate risk, calculated transparency actually reduces long-term risk. By being open, being fast to respond, even if it's imperfectly at first, you kind of inoculate the brand against those major PR disasters down the line.
So being quiet is riskier.
In the long run, potentially yes. The sources really emphasize establishing a clear internal mandate. Trust the community manager, the person closest to the audience, and, crucially, kill that multi-layered approval chain.
Get rid of the bureaucracy.
Exactly. If a creator on TikTok needs 3 days and 5 signatures to get a green light for a topical meme, you've already failed the authenticity test. The moment's gone.
That makes perfect sense. Reduce the internal friction so you can participate authentically externally. Okay, but this philosophical jump isn't just about what you post, is it? It's also about where you choose to build your community.
Precisely.
And here's where it gets really interesting, maybe even counterintuitive for some. The third pillar is adopting adaptive, audience-centric strategies, that rigid, traditional social playbook, the one that demands you post the exact same polished thing on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, the spray and pray approach.
It's dead. Success now demands flexibility, adaptation, and real strategic purpose behind your platform choices. And this philosophy introduces a pretty radical strategic option: platform abstinence. We found research showing some really powerful brands are actually making the choice not to participate on certain platforms. If those channels just don't align with their brand values, or maybe where their community isn't really prioritizing their time.
You don't have to be everywhere.
You don't.
Yeah.
In fact, trying to be everywhere can dilute your message and just strain your resources thin.
And the prime high-profile example here, of course, is Lush Cosmetics.
Right, Lush.
They made huge headlines by stepping away from several major social platforms entirely. Their rationale was deeply authentic to them. They wanted to prioritize their company values and, interestingly, customer mental health. They argued that the platforms themselves were becoming toxic environments that just clashed with the core Lush mission.
That took guts.
Huge guts. The perceived risk was astronomical, right? Walking away from that massive instant reach. But the outcome, according to the analysis, was pretty conclusive. Lush saw increased loyalty and deeper, much richer engagement through their own channels.
Your own app, newsletters.
Exactly. Their app, email newsletter, localized their communications. It powerfully demonstrates that standing by your values drives loyalty. And ultimately, loyalty is far more valuable than just temporary reach.
Okay, but hang on. Lush is a huge, established global retail brand. They have a loyal, physical customer base already. What about a startup? Or maybe a specialized B2B software company that relies heavily on LinkedIn for leads, or an artist trying to build a career from scratch.
Yeah.
Isn't platform abstinence just, well, a recipe for irrelevance and maybe bankruptcy for them? How do the sources suggest smaller organizations manage that risk?
That is the essential critical question. Absolutely. And for smaller or more specialized organizations, platform abstinence isn't about quitting social media entirely. That's not the message. It's about performing a ruthless platform audit. The sources are very clear on this. Stop viewing participation as some kind of mandatory distribution requirement across the board. If, like in your example, your customer base is 90% professionals on LinkedIn, putting 50% of your limited resources into highly visual platforms like TikTok, well, that's just illogical.
Focus your fire.
Precisely. It's not about being absent everywhere. It's about being present authentically, where your core community already gathers and engages. It's far better to dominate one strategic platform with genuine specialized content than to just fail mediocrely on 5 different ones. The key is shifting resources away from just hitting content distribution quotas.
Towards community management.
Exactly. Towards community management budgets, investing in interaction.
That shift in resource allocation is critical. And it brings us neatly to the biggest challenge for managers, for leaders. If we successfully stop chasing the likes, the shares, the basic, reach those old vanity metrics, what on earth do we track instead?
Yeah, what's the new scoreboard?
We need a completely new definition of success, one that justifies these big strategic and philosophical changes we're talking about. The conceptual shift is, it's entirely away from focusing on those fleeting viral metrics.
The sugar rush.
Yeah, the sugar rush. And concentrating instead on genuine relationships, trust, and lasting brand resonance. One of the sources offered a great analogy that really clarifies this shift, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
We're moving from counting how many people just shouted hello at you on a busy street, that's high-volume, low-quality virality.
Like a shallow interaction.
To counting how many people you've actually invited into your home for dinner, metaphorically speaking, and who keep coming back. That is loyalty, retention, and meaningful engagement. The quality of the connection is now everything.
And to measure that quality, we need specific metrics. We can't be vague about it. First, you absolutely must focus on retention and loyalty. Success isn't tracked through new follower counts anymore. It's tracked through participation rates in exclusive communities, maybe successful referrals, involvement in first access programs, and critically, correlating social engagement to customer lifetime value, or CLV.
So connecting the dots to actual business value.
Precisely. Are the people who engage most deeply with your authentic content also your best, most retained customers? You need to know that. Second, we look for meaningful engagement. And this is purely a quality measurement, not quantity. Success is measured through actual meaningful conversations and the depth of that engagement.
Not just likes.
Not just likes. We're talking tracking direct messages, analyzing comments for rich user feedback, using sentiment analysis tools to really gauge community feeling. One high-value comment providing real product insight that's now worth more than 100,000 ephemeral likes.
That reframes everything.
It does. That two-way interaction is the most powerful brand lever you have available now. And finally, the ultimate goal really is trust and relevance. Brands have to explicitly focus on metrics that demonstrate trust. Things like the speed and quality of resolving customer issues publicly, maybe, or the volume of positive community endorsements. The pursuit of lasting brand resonance, making sure your brand stays culturally relevant over time, that has to outweigh chasing any short-term spike in views. If people are still discussing your brand positively 6 months after a campaign, that's success.
This is clearly a huge overhaul, not just for the social strategy, but for the entire marketing department's mindset, really.
It touches everything.
So let's pivot slightly from the philosophy and the metrics to the actionable strategy. The new playbook, as we've said, isn't some rigid list of rules you print out. It is inherently adaptive. Success seems to require bold experimentation and, maybe most importantly, empowering your teams to act almost like creators themselves.
Yeah, give them agency.
Rather than just corporate distribution agents checking boxes. But how does a brand manager, maybe sitting in an organization that currently rewards control and polish, even begin this shift?
That's the tough part.
What tools or internal processes maybe need to be killed first to empower those teams to be more authentic?
Okay. The sources outline a very clear managerial shift needed here. First, you've got to kill the mandatory post 30 pieces of content a month type of distribution quota.
Get rid of the quota.
Replace it with an experimentation budget. Allocate specific funds for testing new cultural formats, maybe jumping onto a new platform quickly without the immediate pressure of proving ROI in week one. That frees up teams to be culturally nimble.
Allows for learning.
Allows for learning, exactly. Second, that strategic focus we talked about must shift. Audit your platforms. Ruthlessly focus only where your brand values and your community truly align. The actionable step here, dedicate maybe a full 48 hours, seriously, to reviewing and potentially exiting platforms that are just sucking up resources without generating genuine loyalty or connection.
Be brave enough to leave.
Be brave enough to leave. And third, maybe the biggest internal challenge, leadership has to start measuring the ROI of trust. You need to align the social team's performance goals directly with customer retention metrics, not just reach.
Connected to the bottom line.
You need proof that the deeper, authentic content actually translates into lower churn rates, higher lifetime value. That's how you justify the perceived risk of being more vulnerable and less polished.
And that need for adaptation you mentioned is paramount. You just can't set a social media strategy in January and expect it to hold perfectly for 12 months anymore.
No way.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, the external culture is just moving way too fast.
Absolutely. Teams need to be nimble. They need to be able to rapidly respond to cultural moments, update their internal playbooks quarterly, maybe even monthly sometimes, based on what's resonating with the audience. The research really emphasizes that the new rule is, well, that there are no rigid rules anymore. flexibility, and crucially, co-creation with your fans.
Letting them influence things.
Letting them influence your content, your brand identity even. That's the path to enduring relevance. Now, if you aren't actively co-creating with your audience, you're essentially just broadcasting old news. Nobody cares.
That perfectly encapsulates this entire deep dive, I think.
Yeah.
The modern brand has to move from acting like a distant advertiser, some monolithic entity,
Come on a pedestal,
to acting more like a friend, a participant in the culture. And by leaving behind that polished pretense, that chase for surface-level vanity metrics, you gain something infinitely more valuable. Genuine connection, long-term brand stability. So hopefully you now have the knowledge to start moving beyond those superficial metrics and begin building genuine, long-term brand loyalty within your own organization.
So building on that, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to consider this week. Something to push you past the inertia of that old playbook. If loyalty is truly the new success metric, what is one old best practice? Maybe it's strict scheduling, maybe mandatory multi-platform distribution, maybe uniform branding guidelines across every single post. What's one thing you can eliminate entirely, starting this week, to allow your team to be more authentic and more nimble? Just think about that single point of friction. What can you remove? And then identify where your brand can share just one small moment of honest vulnerability to deepen that trust. That's where the real work of building that relationship engine truly starts.
Think on that, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Ready to take your online business to the next level? Subscribe to our digital marketing podcast and then join our Accountability for Success Mastermind. With expert advice from industry leaders, you'll gain knowledge and insights that will help you succeed in today's digital marketing world. From social media strategies to search engine optimization, we have all the tools you need. Learn from successful entrepreneurs and take control of your online success. Join the Accountability for Success Mastermind now at bit.ly/AFSM podcast.